This guy thinks he's so tough with his cold, manipulative personality. Like, come on, dude, lighten up. Maybe if you smiled once in a while, people wouldn't be out for your head all the time. And Thorfinn, oh boy, he's like a little angry Viking puppy, all bent out of shape because Askeladd offed his old man. Talk about holding a grudge. Hey Thorfinn, ever heard of therapy? Might do you some good instead of running around with murder on the brain. But back to Askeladd, this guy's got skills, I'll give him that. Leading a group of mercenaries takes guts, even if you are a bit of a jerk. Maybe if he spent less time being all cold and manipulative, he could make some real friends instead of just hired swords. So, Askeladd, buddy, here's some advice: lighten up, get a hobby that doesn't involve raiding and pillaging, and maybe, just maybe, people will start to like you. Or at least not want to kill you all the time. This guy's like a Viking version of a chess grandmaster, always thinking 10 moves ahead. I bet he even outwits himself sometimes, just for fun. His brain must be as sharp as his sword, 'cause he's always 2 steps ahead of everyone else. It's like he's got a crystal ball or something, 'cause he always knows exactly how to play people like a fiddle. And poor Thorfinn, falling for Askeladd's mind games left and right. Hey Thorfinn, ever heard of a backbone? Maybe stand up to the guy once in a while instead of being his puppet on a string. But you gotta hand it to Askeladd, he's got skills. Not just with a sword, but with his words too. Maybe he missed his calling as a Viking lawyer or something. Objection, Your Honor, I move to plunder the defendant's village. So, Askeladd, keep on outsmarting the competition and playing your mind games. Just don't be surprised when someone finally figures out your tricks and gives you a taste of your own medicine. Askeladd, the man with more layers than a Viking onion. Half Welsh, half Danish, and probably half crazy too. No wonder he's got so many issues with his identity. I bet he wakes up in the morning not knowing whether to raid or to sip tea. And his goal? Power and wealth, like every other wannabe king in the medieval sandbox. But Askeladd here takes it to a whole new level. He'd sell his own grandmother for a shiny rock if it meant getting ahead. Betrayal is just another Tuesday for this guy. But hey, at least he's honest about it. No pretense. No, I'm doing this for honor, nonsense. Askeladd's motto is probably, get rich or die trying, and he's not afraid to step on a few toes, or stab a few backs, to get there. So, Askeladd, keep on juggling your identities and backstabbing your way to the top. Just don't be surprised when the only thing waiting for you at the summit is a lonely throne and a bunch of enemies sharpening their swords. What 16 personality type is Askeladd? Based on his actions and behavior, Askeladd from Vinland Saga could be classified as an ENTJ, extroverted, intuitive, thinking, judging, personality type. But let's be real here, calling him just an ENTJ is like calling a lion just a cat. Askeladd doesn't just possess natural charisma and leadership, he practically breathes it. He's the kind of guy who could sell ice to an Eskimo and make them thank him for it. This dude doesn't just manipulate and control others, he practically plays them like a fiddle at a country hoedown. His leadership style? More like a strategic mastermind mixed with a pinch of Machiavellian charm. He's the type to see the big picture and make calculated decisions, all while sipping his mead and plotting his next move like a Viking chess grandmaster. So yeah, ENTJ might be the technical term, but let's be real, Askeladd is in a league of his own. Furthermore, Askeladd's intuition is so sharp, he could probably tell you what you had for breakfast just by looking at you. His ability to read people is off the charts, like he's got a PhD in mind games. He doesn't just manipulate his enemies, he plays them like a fiddle at a royal banquet. And let's talk about his logic, it's so cold and calculated, it makes a computer look emotional. He's the kind of guy who would sacrifice his own men without breaking a sweat if it meant getting closer to his goals. It's like he's playing a game of Viking chess, and everyone else is just a pawn in his grand scheme. As for being decisive and organized, Askeladd is like a Viking version of Marie Kondo. He's got a plan for everything, and his mind is as tidy as a battle-hardened warrior's tent. He doesn't second-guess himself, he just goes for it like a berserker charging into battle. Overall, while Askeladd's moral compass might need a serious recalibration, his ENTJ personality type is what turns him into a Viking force to be reckoned with. I mean, sure, he might not win any awards for Mr. Congeniality, but who needs popularity when you've got the strategic mind of a Norse god? Let's face it, Askeladd's leadership skills are so sharp, they could cut through a shield like butter. He's the kind of guy who could lead a raid on Monday, negotiate a peace treaty on Tuesday, and still have time for a feast on Wednesday, all while looking cooler than a polar bear in sunglasses. So yeah, maybe his actions aren't always morally justifiable, but when you're dealing with Askeladd, you better believe he's gonna lead with the ferocity of a berserker and the cunning of a fox. Based on his actions and behavior, Askeladd isn't just any Enneagram Type 8, he's the challenger on steroids. This dude doesn't just desire control, power, and dominance, he practically demands it like a Viking king. He's the kind of guy who would challenge Thor himself to a drinking contest just to prove he's the alpha of the gods. And let's talk about his strategy and manipulation skills, they're so on point, it's like he's playing a game of 4D chess while everyone else is still trying to figure out checkers. He doesn't just outsmart his enemies, he outmaneuvers them with the finesse of a battle-hardened general. So yeah, calling him just an Enneagram Type 8 is like calling Valhalla just a nice place to visit. Askeladd is the challenger redefined, the kind of guy who doesn't just break the mold, he smashes it with a battle axe and laughs while doing it. As a Type 8, Askeladd isn't just driven by a need to assert his authority, he practically lives for it. This guy would assert his dominance over a pack of wolves if he thought they were encroaching on his turf. He's the kind of guy who doesn't just maintain his independence, he guards it like a dragon guards its hoard of gold. And let's talk about his leadership abilities, they're so legendary, they should be sung about in epic sagas. He doesn't just lead his crew, he commands them with the authority of a Viking chieftain. Other characters in the show, they don't just respect him, they practically worship the ground he walks on, like he's Odin himself come down from Asgard. So yeah, Type 8 might be the technical term, but when you're dealing with Askeladd, you're dealing with a force of nature. He's the kind of guy who could lead an army of trolls into battle and come out on top, all while cracking jokes and looking cooler than a frost giant in sunglasses. However, his desire for power isn't just a thirst, it's more like an insatiable hunger that could rival a dragon's. Askeladd doesn't just lack empathy, he probably couldn't find it with a map and a compass. He's the kind of guy who would use his own grandmother as a stepping stone if it meant getting closer to his goals. And let's talk about his treatment of Thorfinn, it's so cold, it could freeze a waterfall. He sees Thorfinn as a pawn. More like a disposable pawn in a game of Viking chess. Askeladd doesn't just use others for his own gain, he practically uses them as stepping stones on his path to greatness. Sure, Askeladd's confidence and strength make him a compelling character, but let's not sugarcoat it, his Type 8 tendencies can make him ruthless and callous to a fault. He's the kind of guy who would kick a puppy and then blame the puppy for being in his way. In conclusion, while the Enneagram types might not be as set in stone as a runestone, Askeladd's actions and behavior scream Enneagram Type 8 louder than a berserker charging into battle. His need for control and power isn't just a desire, it's practically a full-time job for him. He's the kind of guy who would challenge a thunderstorm to a shouting match just to prove he's the one in charge. Throughout the series, Askeladd's behavior is like a roadmap to Type 8 territory. He doesn't just drive, he steamrolls over anyone who gets in his way, like a Viking longship crashing through the waves. His need for control and power isn't just a character trait, it's practically a way of life for him. So yeah, while the Enneagram types might not be set in stone, when it comes to Askeladd, Type 8 fits him like a well-crafted shield. If you enjoy this video, feel free to subscribe the channel, like the video and share this video with your anime friends. See you later. Bye.